Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Paul Teutul Sr. is the founder and owner of Orange County Choppers and starred in the hit TV show American Chopper, Orange County Choppers, and American Chopper Senior vs. Junior. You can currently find all seasons of American Chopper on the Discovery Plus app. He's also the founder of OCC Roadhouse and Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, a travel destination with a restaurant, concert hall, and museum showcasing many of Paul Sr.'s custom builds. You can learn more about OCC Roadhouse at occroadhouse.com. You can follow Senior on social media at Paul Teutul Sr. Paul Sr., welcome to Oil and Whiskey.
How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing real good.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's funny because I was just buzzing through Instagram, and that's how I got you guys, and I just was watching some of your stuff, and I said, man, this is really pretty cool. And, then I asked you if I could get on there. So I appreciate you taking time.
No, it's awesome, man. I got to tell you, honestly, we've done a lot of these, and I think this is the first time I'm starstruck. I mean, I grew up watching you guys. This is, it's pretty cool, man. So I'm looking forward to hanging out and hearing a little about your story.
Yeah. Peek behind the curtain. I mean, in all transparency, we got your Instagram message, and I run to Phil and Jeremy. I'm like, hey, I don't know if we're getting catfished here or what, but he wants to be a guest on. This is awesome. And then, yeah, starstruck is an understatement for sure. You were very instrumental in our young lives coming up. And I mean, first really reality, TV show that was something that, a guy would give a shit about. I would assume, not like a dating show or, Real World or anything like that. It was something that was, fabricating and shit like that. That was awesome.
But what's interesting is that it really was, and also real, it was a family show also. I mean, a lot of, even today, kids that are in their 20s, they say, I grew up, those kids were probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Now they're 30 years old. So it's pretty, and they're watching with their mom and their dad. So the demographics is widespread.
That was very cool. I mean, that you hit the nail on the head. That was us. Yeah, it was a family show. I'd get done. I was cutting my teeth as a hot rod builder, and we'd come home. Me, my dad, my brother sit down on the couch. I think that was before you had TiVo and the DVR. So you actually had to watch it. Actually, had to get your ass home and sit down in front of the TV. But man, we loved it, and it was such a great dynamic. We come from a family business. My dad's no longer with us, but you're probably the only guy to rival his mustache.
That's what I was going to say.
I'll give you that. You got him beat there, but very cool. I mean, similar dynamic in our family of he was the hardcore, stern, old school kind of guy. Which knowing him, it brings up a lot of questions for me. As far as running the business, employing guys. I mean, first thing right out of the gate, because I know we had to pull my dad out of any form of a management position because he's old school. And I consider you old school. How are you handling that in this day and age with these soft young men? Are you able to be yourself, or how's that work?
Listen, I can't help but being myself. And I think that was the success of the show, because you couldn't make that up. And, so, yeah, I mean, we're not like I downsized a lot. So it's, all those years of, all that pressure. And it's a lot, it was a lot of pressure. People don't realize that, they think it's not true when it's, got to get it done, got time. That's all true. Those bikes that we were building, we had 5 weeks from start to finish. So it was always a lot of pressure, and you're always, I'm an overachiever, and I can't help myself. So I always, even if I'm not doing, I got to have my nose in there to make sure that it's getting right. And if it's not getting done right, and somebody's screwing up, and it's just, the show was what it was. It really was. It was, and especially in the beginning, there was no improvised. There was no, what's the word I'm looking for? Script. There was no script. It was just, they let us just do our thing,
Yeah, that was definitely, from the outside looking, that's what it felt like. It was very cool to see. It was just natural, felt, totally unscripted. And it was so cool for viewers like us, and we've obviously come a long way in where we started back when we were watching the show. But it was so cool to see you guys kind of come up the ranks. I felt like we lived the whole thing from your first shop and then growing and growing and growing. And I'd imagine you said that there was a tremendous amount of pressure, which we're probably, I don't know how big you guys were at that point. We're about what's knocking on 80 employees' door here, and I know the pressure gets there. And you guys got huge, didn't you? How big were you?
Well, we probably had 70 people in the motorcycle part of it. And then we had a restaurant there too, which probably was another. So we had probably, in total, maybe 150 people. It's crazy. You already know if you're dealing with 80 people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? It's just so across the board. You gotta be on top of everything, and involved in everything. And it's tough. It's tougher than people think it is. They look and say, hey, these guys are making money. They're driving around in a brand new. Why do they have a brand new car and I don't?
Yep.
Because you don't get up in the morning, you don't go to work. That's why. You know what I mean?
Before we get too far down the road, we try to start at the beginning. I know everybody's excited.
I'm just going wildly. I got all these questions.
You're super excited. We're going to get there. We got time. Paul, before you were the fame and the show and all that, you were a dad of 4 from upstate New York. You had OCC Ironworks, I think, at that time. Where did the beginning of fabrication get involved? Where did all take us from the beginning?
When I graduated high school, it was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but, I wasn't a good boy in high school by no means, and, so I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go in. And my brother-in-law had a steel shop, and I worked in the steel shop for probably 6 months. And then I went to another steel shop for a couple months. And I said, you know what? I don't want to work for somebody, So I went and bought, my dad had a 66 International truck, and a buddy of mine was going to jail, and he had a four-cylinder Hobart welder. And what I did was I bought the truck and I bought that welder, and I started off just going around like welding, hot rod exhausts, and I would go on farms and weld the manure spreaders or whatever I had to do. And then I got to a point where I started doing ornamental work, and that was a big part of my business. And from the ornamental, it went to some structural, but I think that that was a big part of, going back in the day in the 60s, when you were building a bike or whatever, you had to find somebody to cut your steel or cut your frame or weld it, and I had the abilities to do that because. I had that in my shop, so I always had that advantage. And so I could play with stuff and pretty much kind of be ahead of most people in that era.
That's crazy. I can imagine what it was like in the 60s. Like you said, you had to find somebody to do that. It's much that same way now. I mean, doing, projects at home or having a contractor come do stuff. It's amazing the amount of people that aren't in the fabrication industry look at that and like, well, I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to have to find a fabricator to like build that handrail, and it's like coming from the fabricating industry, you're kind of like, yeah, it's whatever. We'll cut it at the shop. We'll do whatever. But in that industry, it's kind of like, it's still a dark art of finding somebody that builds handrails or builds a gate or builds something like that. The ornamental iron stuff it's not mainstream even after all these years.
Right.
And it never was really, because even when I did it, we did a lot of stairs, window guards, railings, that kind of stuff. And even the structural steel shops didn't want to do that. They farmed that out. So, we would wind up doing it, but I liked it. I loved the steel business. I loved it. I did it for like 30 years. And I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning and go to work, and I'd work 6 days a week. I didn't know there was anything but 6 days. I thought everybody worked 6 days a week. And, occasionally 7, but always 6 days a week. But it was a tough business. You're out there welding on them beams in 100 degrees, and you're out there in 10 degrees, standing still, burning that rod. And it's lifting steel all the time. It's a tough job. But like I said, It's kind of like anything else. You start off with a beam. You're starting off with a plain beam, and then you're putting holes in it. Then you're cutting the coping the edge, and then you're fitting the beams together. You know what I mean? And then that beam eventually becomes a building. And so you start off. It's like with a frame of a bike, and when you're done, you got a complete bike, and you move on to the next bike or the next job. So it always was for me. Remembering that piece of iron that you started with, and then standing back and look at that building that's done.
Did that quickly become family business as the kids got older and kind of moved into the ironwork stuff as well?
My son Dan took over the business. He's like, he does all the high rises in New York City. He's big, and he really did a good job of, from taking it from what I had to where he is now. I mean, he's probably one of the biggest steel shops out there. Yeah. Period.
That's awesome. That is very cool. Mm-hmm. That's information you just don't hear about. That's really neat.
Well, there's still got to be a sense of pride too. I mean, knowing something that you've kind of started that's gone there, and your son running it. Plus, it's probably better that your son's running, working with some of these millennials of today, like Jeremy was saying. They don't understand 6 days a week like they used to. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what's funny. He still has guys that worked for me working for him today.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you're talking. Those guys work for me. They're probably near 70. And they're still working there, and he's been there he's probably been there 10 years plus, and those guys went right from my shop to his shop and stayed right there until retirement. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Totally different era, different generation.
Work till the day they die, and
that's when you retire.
Yeah,
rest when you're dead.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, bro. I mean, I'm 73. And, I'm still in the shop right now, building bikes and hands on.
Still working out? You still in the gym?
Yeah, I'm still in the gym. Yeah. You want to see my muscle?
That's when did you start working out? And I mean, that's had to have been a huge part of your life. I mean, for quite some time.
Yeah. I got sober in 1985. When I was a young guy in high school and stuff, I'd work out. I was always a pretty strong guy, and then I got into the other stuff. And so in 1985, I stopped the drugs and the alcohol, and I started getting into the gym and working out. So I've been doing it probably. I'm sober 37 years, and probably a year after I got sober. I started working out, and I just, I'm a compulsive person. You know what I mean? I don't do, either I do it or I don't do it. So I've been doing it for 37 years and pretty religiously. I don't take, if I took 3 weeks off, it's a lot.
That's awesome. The whole time. I heard a little interview the other day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the guy was asking him, why do you still lift? Why do you still work out? You're still in the gym every single day. And his response was pretty good, because he says, why do you eat today if you ate yesterday? Why do you sleep tonight? You slept yesterday. It's that much a part of my day, or of my life. It's something that I do every single day, just like I eat and I get up and I sleep. It's why do you keep breathing?
I think you need that routine. You know what I mean? You need to wake up for something. Yeah. You need to go to bed at night thinking about, what's the next day instead of negative stuff. There's enough things going on in your life, which you guys know, and pressures and stuff like that. So you can't go to bed at night and keep focusing on that. You got to have something to wake up. You have to have a goal. So I think that you always, for me, I have to have goals, I think that's in the routine I think it keeps you out there. And it's part of who you are. It's just part of your life, and that's what you do.
Man, I think it goes hand in hand with success. I can't function if I'm not up every morning hitting the gym. I work out at home before I go to work, and then at lunchtime, it's in the gym every day at lunch for 30, 40 minutes. And I feel like it keeps you sharp, keeps you focused, keeps you motivated. And if I can keep doing what I'm doing when I'm 73, then
Oh yeah.
I'll be fucking huge by the time I'm 70. If I just keep going to the gym the way I'm going now, it's going to take that long, but damn.
Here's the thing though. The thing of it is, it does get harder.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I was, right now I have my shop in Florida. I don't have the one in New York anymore. So it's an hour ride from here to where my home is in Florida. And, at the end of the day, you're like, you're kind of shot, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was like skipping the gym, not, missing here and missing here. And then I said to myself, well, you know what? It's not going to the gym's not going to come to you. So no matter how you feel, and once you get to the gym and you go inside there and you start working out, you feel good.
Oh,
and you feel good when you come out. So sometimes it's just, you got to look at it as, it's some of the, it's, I always say that, in my businesses, you're going all the time, you don't, after a while, you don't. I travel the world with Discovery, and after a while you get tired and you say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there, and you go there and your life changes. Because you always, sometimes you meet, I could be sitting on a plane and there'll be a guy next to me and I'll be going, shit, why did they put this guy next to me? And he winds up being the coolest guy, and you learn so much from him. And when you leave, you're like, man, that was an experience that I never would have had if I didn't show up.
Oh yeah. I learned all about that. I worked my ass off for years and refused to go out with anybody. I was always working, never home, gone every weekend. And my wife was always pushing to, hey, come hang out with my friends. Cause everybody thought she was single or divorced or something. And eventually, I finally started, I'd take a day off of work here and there, a Saturday, a Sunday, and started making friends and meeting people. And it's amazing when you open yourself up.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So fast forward a little bit. How did the whole first pilot show, American Chopper, how did that start? You're doing your thing in, upstate New York, and a producer from Discovery calls up and says, hey, you want to do this? I mean,
did you have the motorcycle shop first and then get into the Discovery, or?
I had my steel shop, and right about that time, I took a portion of my shop which was downstairs, just like a 40 by 40 area, because, I was always into bikes. I still have my original 1974 Harley in the restaurant.
Wow.
But I was always into it. And I said, I'm going to put a little shop downstairs and just build bikes. And, if I sell a few, fine. If I don't, I'll just keep building them. And so I got a phone call one day, and they said, they asked me if I wanted to do a 1 hour documentary, building a bike in, where the hell was that? I can't even think, in New Hampshire, with Laconia. And so I thought because Jesse had done a show before that. He was very successful with that show on the West Coast. And basically what they wanted to do is recreate that on the East Coast. So I just opened up a website probably a week before they called me, and the producer said, go get me somebody on the East Coast. And the guy was looking through the website, and he said, this guy looks like a motorcycle bike. This guy looks like a biker. Give him a call. That was it. The rest is history.
So that mustache and working out, it paid off. Yeah, those tattoos and muscles kind of paid off.
Yeah. So it's funny, when you think about it, when you're a kid growing up, would you ever think about being on TV?
No. Way back then, it wasn't even a thing. It seems so mainstream nowadays that there's
now it is. Yeah.
Right, but back when you started it wasn't. I mean, you guys were the first that really. I mean, there's like Monster Garage, and Jesse had his documentary, but from a weekly TV show, I mean, that was just game changing.
Well, to put it in perspective, to answer your question, when I was a little kid, I say little, when I was a kid, we were watching you. Never would we think that we'd be sitting here interviewing you right now. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely have no idea what's coming tomorrow. Still.
It's so funny because, it still sounds a little strange to me because, by trade, I'm a blue collar guy, and I'm a blue collar guy. I didn't really sign up for the TV thing. You know what I mean? They recruited me. So you always have that. I still always have that blue collar mentality. And I think that people identify with that. And I think there's more of a respect than, let's just say, an actor. You know what I mean? An actor is somebody that's Tom Cruise, but I'm like, people talk to me like I'm their family. Like you'll be walking down the street, hey, senior, you know what I mean? They identify you differently than, like, more than just a celebrity. It's kind of like, because you've been in their living room so long, they identify you as like family,
Yep.
Did you have any idea, like, what was coming, or was it just like, oh, we'll do this 1 hour deal and hey, it might be some publicity for the shop and stuff like that? I mean, what's going through your head at that early on?
Well, of course, the deal was too, is this, you guys want to do a show? We'll be down in 2 weeks. We'll start filming in 2 weeks. And that's what happened. And then Billy Lane had a show the night, Roger Bourget, and then they had these women that had a show, and then it was us. I think we were the last show. And I was watching the show, and I was like, and it was like, think about it for a second. It's like something that you've never seen. Like, I've never seen anything like that on TV. Me, yelling at my son, spitting, outrage, and just crazy, And I watched the show, and I sat on my chair, and I said, this cannot be real. They're not really showing this shit. They're not. and I honestly said, like, I was sitting on my couch, like, in shock. And I turned to my girlfriend at the time, and I said, I'm gonna get on a plane, and I'm gonna go to California, and then I'm gonna kill the fucking producer. Word for word. That's exactly what I said. And I meant it. And so what happened was, the next day, I remember going to work, and I was like, I had just started a shop, you know what I mean? And we were doing, I was selling, I got a few dealers, so the bikes, I wasn't killing it, but, we were getting around a little bit. And so when I went to work, I said, it's over, man. There's nobody going to buy bikes from a crazy person, And so I went to the gym that night, and I ran into somebody there, and they said that I was the highest rated show on cable TV, period, that night. So I was like, what the hell's, like, what's up with that, But yeah, it was a trip, that was like, and then boom, the next show, and once the third show hit, it was like somebody opened up a dam and just, it just flooded in. It's crazy. I mean, you're not prepared for that. You're not prepared for that. You're just a regular guy that's in a steel shop, going out measuring jobs and building railings. And next thing you know, there's thousands and thousands of people waiting online to get your autograph and a picture. And it was like, and honestly, it was like that overnight. I mean, we went to the Javits Center, and we shut down the highway there because there was so many people. It was crazy. I mean, I felt we were like, you felt like the Beatles, like I've been in situations that we went to England, and we pulled into this place, and I'm telling you, there were 20 deep on each side for I don't know how long. And we actually had to we dropped the bikes and we ran, and we had a police escort too.
Yeah. That's got to be difficult to stay humble when it comes that fast. I mean, because there's got to be those times where you've got to have those, self-talks or sitting there at night being like, all right, now, Paul, come back down to earth. I'm not king of the fucking world. I can't do. That's from the mental side of things, coming up that astronomical high that fast would be.
Yeah. I mean, you what happens is you expect things, I'm not paying for that. You want to give me that CNC machine and I'll put it on TV, but I'm not paying for that. So you get that kind of mentality.
Yep.
You don't get the mentality, hey, beat it because I'm a celebrity. You know what I mean? I never, ever done that. And I've never refused a picture. because I don't, like, I think after a while you learn that it's really not about you, it's about the people, because they get excited about seeing you. So you don't want to really deprive people of that. And you have a great opportunity as a celebrity to really make a difference in people's lives. So that's kind of how I look at that. And why I say that, I remember being online, being at a show in Italy, and the line was a long line, and it was like 4 hours I was up there, and I said, I just got it. This is enough, and the next people that came, they started crying because they were so excited to see me. And then it makes you realize that it's really not about you. You know what I mean? It's about the what that person got out of it. So there's been a lot of opportunities in my life to do charity work and being part of Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're involved in a lot of Big on Animals, do a lot of rescue, stuff like that makes you, people are not just going to talk to anybody, but they'll talk to me. They'll talk to me because of the celebrity status, and they've seen me all their life. So I had that opportunity to be able for people to respond to me a lot quicker than just the guy off the street.
That's a pretty awesome point of view and take on it, and being able to take that celebrity and, not just capitalize on it for yourself, but make some serious changes for everybody else. It's a cool take that you don't hear that often on it.
Don't think I didn't like the money. Don't think I didn't like the money, too.
That's always important. Always important.
A lot of cars.
Yeah, cars and bikes aren't free.
Yeah. But I can imagine, though, from the company standpoint, like you said, your mindset is, the fans are what it's all about. That's why, I'm here where I'm at, is because of fans. But from the business standpoint, the other companies, there had to have been, every company under the face of the earth, try my tools, wear this shirt, do this. From that standpoint, the mentality of being the shrewd businessman and being like, it's quid pro quo. You want to be on TV and you want to do this, and you've also got a brand to worry about. You can't just throw any company or any tool or any CNC machine up there, that you're going to put basically your name on. So that's a whole other aspect to the industry, or to that TV show.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people, a lot of people in the motorcycle industry frowned on what we did because we weren't building choppers per se, and it was kind of like Jesse called us a cake decorator, which
that one, it sounds like that might have stuck. That was like a deep wound, maybe.
Oh, he sent me. He built a car for me, but I still have it today. But they did like a birthday cake, and with me on there with a candle, and it said cake decorator on it. So it was pretty funny. But the thing of it is, that's what made us, every corporation in the world did a bike with us. HP. I mean, we did 5 Super Bowls. So the bikes that we did to represent the company's theme bikes really was who we were and what we did.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. You mentioned you're a blue collar guy, but you've obviously got a hell of a business sense, because taking that direction, I mean, you could have just started building bikes, just build cool bikes. But, you say you like money. I'm sure there was a hell of a lot of money when you take that direction and start bringing those big corporations and building the theme bikes. And that seems like that direction built a hell of a business for you guys. And yeah, sure, they're not maybe like award-winning choppers or the theme bikes, like, probably not my favorite. I dig a lot of this stuff that you've built, but had to just crushed it for the business, I would imagine.
Well, and the notoriety for the industry itself, that's the thing that I don't know if a lot of the guys understand. Is
a lot of people don't realize that,
Yeah, I mean, you've got CEOs of HP and CEOs of this that are understanding a little bit more about the chopper world or the fabricator world or the blue collar world?
It just was a business. It was, so, if corporations wanted choppers like that, I would build choppers like that too.
Choppers, what they got.
Yeah, exactly. But, I don't judge because of that. I think it was what magazine was that? I forget. Iron Horse or one of his magazines. He sat down next to me at the airport and he said to me, so why do you build those bikes, those whatever kind of bikes it wasn't, I forget what he said. And I said, because it pays the bills, dude. And so, it was like, it's okay to have that mentality of the chopper world, and it's okay to, Thatcher magazine, you know what I mean? But it's not okay to pass judgment on other people for what they do.
Yep.
So I don't, sometimes people are envious of success.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of guys that have made millions and billions manufacturing toilets for a living, and you can make money doing anything, and it's, you shouldn't have. I think what you guys did was it's inspirational from both a fabrication and a business standpoint. You mentioned taking on all this equipment that was, probably donated from different guys. And I see these shows today and it's like, it's one. Yeah. Okay, great. You got a CNC machine, you got a water jet machine, but implementing those, staffing the shop, being able to use the machinery, get it up and running. I see this shit like sitting in the background of all these shows nowadays, just sitting stagnant because it takes a tremendous amount of skill and a businessman and somebody with some intelligence to get this stuff rolling. And
time too, everybody thinks, and even in the steel business, everybody thinks that you go make a phone call and hire this guy and hire that guy, and you're going to have a bunch of people working for you that are, masters in the trade. That's not true. It could take you 10 years before you get the crew that you want. And that makes all the difference. You're only as good as the people around you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen overnight. And you probably know that too, with the amount of employees that you have.
There's a good amount of trial and error and find the right guys. A lot of guys, I would imagine in your position as well, want to be on TV and talk a pretty massive game and can't back that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming in for their, 30 seconds of fame
as a stepping stone to their next shop or whatever it is.
Yeah. People get funny around the camera,
Oh yeah.
With building all the theme bikes and corporate bikes, how much of that design was all you? How much did you have to incorporate from the companies you were working with? Did you have any major hurdles or, headbutting on they had to have this? You said absolutely not.
Not much, and probably, we always let them, if they're a company and they want whatever they want incorporated into the bike, you do it. You do it. But, it's like anything else. If I'm building a bike and they want me to do that and I see that's not appeasing to the eye, I won't, I'm going to call them up and tell them, listen, man, it's just, this bike represents me too, and I can't have it looking like, that's not what you do for a living. That's what I do for a living.
Everybody's, probably seen the shows and they know everything that went along was, if I can word this question correctly, when the show was coming to an end, the TV show portion of it, is that coming to an end when you want it to, later than you want it to, or earlier than you want it to? Was that, were you thinking, you're like, man, I'm glad this is over, or I wish it could have kept going, or were you thinking that 3 years before it was over, like, man, I'm over this? Done. Yeah.
The show got difficult when they put the senior versus junior. I didn't like it no more after that because, they forced you to do script, and, I had a battle with them because I didn't want to do it. And, it just kept getting worse and worse. And it wasn't no fun anymore, so I didn't, at that point, it was like, you talk about stress. There was a lot to think about it. Your family, your whole family's watching you on TV, and, you're you're fighting with your kids and your and whatnot in front of millions of people. So and I don't, like all the years of fighting and exploding and stuff like that, I didn't really care about that. You know what I mean? It was like that off TV, so it didn't make any difference anymore. We just did it on TV. That's what you did. But it got to the point where it was like, I don't want to do a TV show if I'm forced to do things that I don't want to do, because it never was like that in the beginning. I told them what to do. You would tell them, when you're getting ratings like that, nobody tells you what to do, including the station. If you tell them you're not doing that, they'll say, okay, we'll do something. We'll do something different. But that none of that stuff lasts forever. And again, it got to the point where it was just too stressful, and I really didn't want to do the show anymore. That's what it came down to.
What brought you down to Florida?
New York.
So brought everybody from New York down to Florida.
My wife, she had a place in Delray, and for a long time, and then when I met her 10 years ago, I would go down there because she had a little place down there. But it really, like, for me, it was too congested. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't go downtown and eat dinner. It would be a nonstop picture session. And then there was no place to ride your bike. It was another light. You could run across down the coast there, which was nice, but it was the same thing. How many times can you do that ride? And then we did a show for Tradewinds, which is a resort down here in Brooksville, and I said to one of the not the owner, the guy that worked here, I said, if there was a part of Florida that was like New York, like country and trees and that kind of thing, I'd think about moving down here. And he said, well, there is, and he took us to Brooksville, is where I am now, and we have a farm and we have animals, and I was like, this is like, I didn't know that was Florida. You would never know it's Florida. So we decided that the ride there is phenomenal. There's no traffic, you know what I mean? So you can go out for the day and not bump into a lot of cars. So it's kind of like everything that I would want between the animals and the bike riding, and nice and quiet. Your neighbors are far enough away where you get to just kind of do your thing. And so I liked it. And then, I'm in Clearwater with where the restaurant is, and I'm on the same, like Harley Davidson's, you can walk there in a half a second because they're only maybe 50 yards from our restaurant. So it really made sense. And it's a busy area in this area. I wouldn't want to live here, but for business, it's really good. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. I got a small shop here, which I like. I could come to work and not have 100 people come in here and interrupt what I do. So, it's a different life. I'm 73, I'm not old by no means, and I'm not crippled by no means. I'm still putting up fence and still working, but it's I don't want that high pressure anymore. I want to build bikes. Fortunately, right now I have 8 bikes to build. But I don't have, it's kind of like when when you get the bike done, call me, you know what I mean? Yep. Not exactly like that, but it's not like, hey, where's my bike? Hey, did you know what I mean? So that's, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. People are not hanging on your neck.
So where you're at now, coming from, it's a wild ride, starting from absolutely, nothing, being self-made, starting a small chopper shop, growing it to probably the largest bike shop in the world, and now scaling back and moving thousands of miles down into the country in Florida and welding, fabricating, and putting bikes together yourself. If you had to pick one of those out of all, were you the happiest, or is it, did you enjoy the ride to get to where you're at now?
Listen, life's an experience, and it's part of your history, so I very rarely regret where I came from, and the things that I've done in my life, because it's whether it's alcohol or drugs, it gives you the ability to progress from there if that's what you want to do. And I even think my talking freely about alcoholism and drugs on TV has helped a lot of people too. So there's a purpose there. You know what I mean? It just wasn't all in vain. So that's the way I look at life. It's like everything. It's just it's a passing through thing. And so you could really look at life where you are today and how you got there.
That's interesting. I was going to even ask about, regrets or anything you look back, but you've answered it, that it's all an experience. And no matter what unfortunate times you might have went through or thought you were going through, it's still sacrificed for all the good that has either came your way or went other people's way. So that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Like you said, life's a journey, and you don't worry about what you did yesterday. You worry about what you're going to do tomorrow. Because, like even in the 12-step program, they tell you that you only have today. And it's so true. And, I couldn't really grasp that because I had a hard time getting sober and trying to, things got really bad. And so when they said a day at a time, I was like, fuck, a day at a time, that's bullshit, man. I need a drink and I need a drink now. Let me run that fucking day at a time bullshit, And, but when you think about a day at a time, I had to look at it like, so I really only have today and I could be dead tomorrow. So I don't really have to worry, I may not have to experience that pain or whatever it is the following day, because I may not be around to do that, and, a day at a time becomes a year at a time and 2 years at a time and on and on.
It's way easier to face your fears when it's for a good reason.
Every day's a gift. I mean, honestly.
To our fallen brothers.
You want to pull down here? You have to have a short memory when you do good and a short memory when you do bad, because tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, your military's great, but to turn out to be a good person, that impresses me more.
When you do, make that correction.
This hand, pulling in this hand, punch.
Like, all I wanted as like a kid was just like a lock on my bedroom door.
Every single nick on this thing, every single chip, like right there, is a story.
There's 1,000 years of development in that ass.
He goes, you got a huge hole in your back. And I'm like, well, put something in it.
It just teaches you so much about life, the way that fighting kind of does.
That's what it calls for.
Our generation has to be the ones that step up and say, hey, look, I'm going to be a person that gives.
It's all about like fighting for freedom.
When you go through that door, it's a fight.
Let's do it.
I'm going to need a week to decide if I ever do that again.
I've not seen anything like this before.
It's just way better to be in the flow.
I got out because we weren't at war. We're at war. I'm going back.
If you don't mind talking about that, what brought you to that point in 85 where you're like, I'm done? If you don't want to ask it, we'll cut it out.
I don't. It's kind of like, I can tell you it was through the grace of God, because there was no way in hell I could do it. I could. It was like, that had a hole in me and it wouldn't let go. And I couldn't let go of it, no matter how much I tried. So, it's funny because, it was like I had a business, had my steel business, but it was a small business at the time. And they, well, you need to go to rehab, And I thought about going to a rehab, And then, you know, I kind of woke up in the morning and I said, I can't go to no rehab. I've worked for this business. What am I going to do? Just, you know, I was just a one-man show. Maybe I had one other guy working for me. You know, I started it by myself, and I said, I can't give up what I worked hard for. And so I went to a AA meeting that night, and I had been to one a while ago, and I thought it was the worst fucking thing that you could possibly. It was like a bunch of losers. There's a bunch of losers in this room. I don't belong in here, you know. I need to go get a drink. And so back to what I was saying. So I did go to that night. I said I'll go to a meeting, you know, and I went, and I hated it. I hated it. Their same losers were in there as the last time, but you know, what I find, and it's a typical, anybody knows anything about it, a 12-step program, which I recommend for people that do have a problem. I mean, that's what did it for me. But you know, again, you know, I went that one time and I didn't have a drink, you know, and then I went back again and I didn't have a drink, you know, and then I continued to do that. But the road was rough because, you know, I had 4 or 5 guys working me that drank like I did. You know, so every day we were on a job site, they were passing a bottle of whiskey back and forth, and I'd be sitting there drooling, and so it was hard, even harder to be in that environment and be able to survive that, because they didn't. You know, my partner died. He was at 35 years old. You know, his liver just quit on him. You know, so you know, I was fortunate to be able to stop and stop. And I think that, you know, if you ask me if I'm capable of drinking, I say yes, because I am, you know what I mean? And I can't forget that I can't have a drink, you know what I mean? And there's no sense in having a drink, because if I'm going to have a drink, it's going to be a bottle. It's not going to be a drink, because there's just not enough. There's just not enough whiskey, you know?
I think that's interesting, not to make light of the situation at all, but it's interesting listening to you. You've definitely got a winner's mentality. You've definitely got the mentality, if you're going to do something, do it right and do it all the way. And I think that we see that a lot in this industry and in other industries as well. When you have that winning mentality, when you have that, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way. Unfortunately, that also comes to some of the bad things too. If you're going to drink, you're going to win it. You're going to do it the best that anybody else can. You're going to drink more than the next.
Go bigger, go home.
It's that compulsive personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, I never if I'm going to have a snowmobile, I'm going to have at least 2. You know what I mean? I'm not having one of anything. You know, it's like, you know, as far as bikes, it doesn't make any difference. You know, if I'm going shopping, you know, for one thing, I'd come home with 10 things. You know what I mean? I think it's just a compulsive personality. So it's a blessing and a curse. So. It
absolutely is. And we talk about it and joke amongst ourselves about that. You know, you're never satisfied, and that's the downside.
That's what keeps you going, though.
It's the drive.
It's also the drive. Yeah. It's what, you know, what you did yesterday is not good enough, and what you're going to do tomorrow is going to be better than that. Yeah, it's definitely a mentality. You know, I've even at 73, there's a lot of obstacles that I've since the show, you know, ups and downs, and it's easy to lay down. It's not hard to it's hard to get up and stay up, and I think that's you know, I've always been that person to not accept the defeat and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that's something that's probably ingrained in you from an early age. You know, I had to work at an early age, and you know, I worked not just sweeping floors. I worked hard at whatever it is that I did. And so you don't see a lot of that today. You're not getting a lot of that today.
I think Bob Dylan said it best when he said these times aren't changing, didn't he? Well, that's certainly not for the better.
Making the conscious decision to not go the easy route, I think, is what is often overlooked with today's day and age workforce. It's like you said, it's very easy to stay laying down. It's very easy when that alarm goes off on a Monday morning, and you're like, man, I had a few too many last night, or, I didn't get in bed in time, and I really don't, it's the easy thing to either make up the excuse or just call in or not do what you needed to do that day. But in those times, making the conscious decision to do the hard thing because it's the hard thing, regardless, whatever that is. It's like, well, I know that if I don't do this, then I'm losing, or I'm taking the easy way out, or I'm not being the 1%. There's something, once you flip that switch and you're taking the pride in doing the thing that sucks the most because you know that nobody else will do it, that changes your outlook on life, and it changes your path.
Shit doesn't just go away. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's kind of like when you drink, it's fucking raining today. It's a good reason to drink. The sun's out. It's a good reason to drink. I don't feel good. Well, I need a drink. I feel great. Let's have a drink. But even like today, if people think that if there's something that they have to do in their life, but they have a drink, that it's going to make it different the following day. Well, it doesn't. It just prolongs it.
Right. Well, another thing I wanted to ask, I know there's probably listeners that want to know this. If you don't want to answer it, we'll move on and cut this part out of the show completely. But going through everything you went through with the family and all that, how is your relationship with the kids today?
The relationships are okay. They're not. The only difficulties I have is with my son, Paulie. But we're at a place where we go to, if we're at a family event or something like that, it's okay.
Me, my brother, and my old man were in a family business, and there's a couple of holes in the drywall still, but for the most part, we get along all right. But I certainly see the challenges and how that day to day can be. But is it like clashing from an ideas standpoint, a personality standpoint? I mean, what drove the?
Are you too close? Are you too similar in personalities?
I grew up with ethics, and I have a problem. I have a big problem with that, in respect. Respecting people, respecting people's stuff. And that's where we differ so much. You're, if you're going, all that stuff was true. You're at 7 o'clock, you're at work. I'm there at 7 o'clock. All my men are there at 7. You can't walk in at 9 o'clock like you're the boss's son. And so, things like using people's tools, they're tools. You guys know your tools mean a lot to you. You know what I'm saying? You don't want anybody.
And my toolbox has been raped and pillaged for 15 years. So.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those kind of things. We're from two different worlds, and I don't. And you know what? That's an acceptance part that I never dealt with or had a hard time dealing with. Because sometimes you got to accept the fact that people are just not going to change.
Well, it's interesting. It leads me to my next question is that infamous scene. And you're saying, the 7 o'clock thing, you got to be in there. That was all true, not scripted. How over the years, I'm sure it's gotten better, but knowing that that's probably one of the most famous memes being used for everything in the internet of any type of argument, and it being such a real and probably difficult time. I'm sure. Even just in the last hour, knowing you're probably looking at it as it's part of the journey, But I mean, what are your thoughts on being a meme star
sensation?
Yeah.
It was, I didn't know what that was. I couldn't figure out what's a meme? You know what I mean? I really mean that, and so when I found out what it was, I think I got the person that started that. I did an interview and I it's kind of like, the people say, well, you really made it when you're a meme, So I think they're still doing them.
Him and Michael Jordan are probably the two most popular memes. You know? That's not bad company.
No,
it captures like perfectly in a picture so many situations that you can just plug right in.
Right.
Yeah, people love it. People love it. Yeah.
How's Mikey doing?
Mikey's the best. He's the best. He's coming down here. He's coming down the 6th. He's doing an appearance or something like that. So I'll get to see him then. But yeah, there are two different ends of the spectrum. You know, Mikey's this good-hearted guy that would, give you his shirt off his back. Always makes me laugh. And a smart guy. He's a real smart kid, Michael. And I don't think some people don't look at it that way because he's kind of a clown, but he's a really smart kid. But yeah, I mean, if you watch the show, you can see the chemistry. He just always made me laugh on the show and off the show too. So it was, and everybody likes Mikey. And I never heard people say, "Well, that guy," you know what I mean? Everybody loves Mikey.
Yeah, I always got quite a kick out of him. Great personality, great sense of humor, man. I was always cracking up.
He's not going to die. He's not going to die of no heart attack. I'll tell you that. He's definitely not setting the world on fire.
Well, moving over into the automotive side of things, since that's obviously what our deal is, and kind of mostly the purpose of the podcast. Although we've been talking to some bike guys, talk a little bit about your interest in hot rods, muscle cars. I've always been into bikes and enjoyed them, but I've always been way more into the car thing, like we all have. And I remember watching on that when they would show little pieces of either what you were driving to the shop that day or showing your, personal garage. You'd get little snippets of, oh man, he's into cars too. And that was always kind of what made me like you even more, honestly, because it was like, oh, he's got some hot rods. So he it's not just some TV guy building some motorcycles. He's been around the block and obviously has some style and taste.
See, I
it was the H2, right?
It seems like you got quite a car collection. I know I'm familiar with that Model A that you have built, that little 5-window coupe. That's a bad little hot rod, man. I dig that.
Yeah, I'm from the muscle. I'm like from the best era of cars ever. I'm from the era where muscle cars. When you didn't, the racetrack you were on it just had a red light and a green light. And when you were going to work in the morning, I had a GTO 70 or 69, I had a couple, but there was nothing but muscle cars everywhere. Z28s, 409, there was nothing but muscle cars. So, if you were going to work in the morning, you stopped at a light and you looked to your right, it was just go time. All the time it was go time. And the models back then, you had to glue everything together. I mean, you were high on that glue by the time you were doing it. you had to put so many parts together. So you actually learned a little bit from that. But and then later on in life, I kind of the 57 and the 55 Chevys, and the car that I always wanted. And my first car ended up being a 66 Dodge Dart. Slant six push button. That was my first car. Yeah. And but you couldn't kill those cars. I tried to kill that car, couldn't kill them. They ran forever. You didn't have to put oil in them or nothing, water already.
Just ran.
Phil and Jeremy have the same Mopar experience on a car you couldn't get. They were Chrysler LeBaron guys, and you couldn't kill that thing.
Except in '91, if you don't put oil in it, the lifter seize up. Yeah. So, found that out.
Jump it too many times, you blow radiators out of it.
But growing up as a kid, like my buddy's brother had a 62 409 2.4s. It was like, that was the shit, man. I mean, what's nicer than a 62 Impala 409, especially back then, they were, and those guys would go out and they'd race and then they'd come back and they'd be tuning up the car and we'd be our head underneath the hood there. And, them guys just, get the fuck out of here, but, and then it just kind of like, then you became, 17, 18. And now now I have my GTO. I was in the merchant marine, saved money, came home, bought a 69 GTO. And it was just, that I missed that era so much. We would meet, no bullshit. We'd meet at this diner called Don Lynn's every Saturday night, like clockwork. There'd be 100 plus cars there. every Saturday, 100 plus muscle car, 413s, 427 vets, everything. And you would go there and everybody would bullshit around, look at cars. And then you would say, okay, who's racing who for what money? So let's just say I'm racing my buddy for $50. Okay. Get in your car, you take off. And when we used to have the Palisades Parkway, bridge to bridge was a quarter mile. And when you left the restaurant, there was 100 cars behind you. Everybody, and you would get lined up by the bridge, and somebody would get out and say go. But when I tell you there was no way that a cop or anybody, because there was cars backed up for half a mile, and then when that was over, everybody went back, and then somebody else went out. So it was like, think about that. That's like,
no, it's like heaven. That had to be wild.
Coolest time ever.
And you think, when you look at today and then, like my GTO, I'd run pure stock, and you would, if you did under 14 seconds, you were moving pretty good.
You were cranking.
Yeah. And thinking today, 7 seconds, or we have an electric bike that did under 7 seconds. And
wow.
We're gonna run it again. We broke the world's record, and somebody else beat it in Germany or somewhere. So we're actually redoing that. And we're gonna run it again next month, I think, and we'll break the world's record again.
Yeah, that's wild.
But it's kind of like I say, I'm not big into the newer, up to date like you guys are. Into the high speed and stuff like that. I've had fast cars, but they were like, I had, ZL1s and ZR1 Corvettes that are, they're pretty fast cars from the factory stock. But I never really, I had Chevy. They built me a 2008 Z06, and they did the motor on it, and I think it was like 700 and something horse. I think it's still on YouTube, and that ran pretty good. But yeah, I was more into those cars later on in life. I had some hot rods. I never really built a hot rod, but I probably had 40 cars at one time. I had a 66 409 Biscayne with a post in it, a bench seat. I had a 421 Catalina 3.2s. I had from 64. I had from 64 to 70 4-speed convertibles, matching numbers, 64 to 70 GTOs, and I had 64 to 70 442s. All convertible 4-speeds.
Damn.
It gets brought up on the podcast all the time when we're talking about movies. It's Dazed and Confused is one of the things. Basically, he's living in Dazed and Confused, and we're always talking about how good of a movie it is.
Yeah, that's cool. So, sounds like you had every single car that was an iconic straight line ass kicker back in the day.
Yeah, pretty much. Road Runners, and I still like those 413.
Yeah, the old Mopars.
They're the earlier ones, the 64s, and
yep.
Back then.
Oh yeah,
they were kind of, back then they were ugly car. Today they're really cool.
Yeah, I got a 65 Belvedere. That same thing. It's just
my uncle had one.
Yep, it was just it's a sinister, mean ass car. But yeah, but by like if you were to look at it from a styling standpoint, it should be terribly ugly, but that's the meanest looking car.
So ugly, it's cool.
Yeah, I love the. Well, it could be a B pillar, a C B pillar in that. I love the roof line. It's so wrong. It's what's cool about it.
Well, I'm curious where the Model A came from. Did you commission Jesse to build that, or that was when he was at Austin Speed Shop?
Yeah, it was kind of like Discovery wanted us to do something together.
Sure.
And so we talked a little bit and said, "Build me a car," and kind of it was his idea to build that style car.
Was he afraid to get in the ring and go a few rounds with you? That's why he had to build a car. You said he wanted to do something together.
He's a pretty big boy too. That'd be a good good couple rounds.
He's a big boy. Yeah. He I think he played college ball too, right? Football or
he played some football.
I don't, I know him. I know him from building the car, and I know him from we did a build off. He was in it, and a few events and stuff like that. But I don't know him really well. We never really hung out per se. I think he's a good guy. I always thought I thought back in the day, everybody was jealous and envious of him, and everybody hated him. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, that guy screwed me out of this, and I never really felt that way.
Just a cool guy. We've gotten to be kind of friends over the years. And I know when your name came up, he speaks very highly of you. I think he's got a lot of, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's got a hell of a lot of respect for you.
Yeah. I think the guy is like probably one of the best craftsmen that there is. I mean, there's not much that he can't do, and do it well. Between guns, cars, bikes, it doesn't really make any difference. He really, he's really a craftsman.
Well, it's that same compulsive personality. If you're going to do it, win it, beat it, destroy all the competition.
It's kind of been a common theme on the podcast with most of our guests that go all in and don't lose.
You don't hear many successful people saying, I just kind of dabbled at it and played a little bit here and there, and it just kind of happened. Anybody that's successful, I
think we all need to get together and go into like a 12-step program together to, my name's Jeremy and I work too. I'm an overachiever.
What's your personal all-time favorite build that y'all did?
I always say the next one.
Perfect. That's what I always say.
Yep.
The next one. But as far as from a bike standpoint, from what I like was the David Mann bike. I don't know if you remember the David Mann bike. Yep. That was a cool bike. That was a real.
That was more your flavor.
Yeah. But there's meaningful bikes. I think the Fireman bike's was a very meaningful bike for a lot of people. So it's I'll tell you, one of my favorite bikes is the POW bike. Sure. I have that. I have both bikes in my restaurant. But yeah, I like the POW. I have feelings more about that.
You were in Vietnam, right, with the Merchant Marines?
Well, I delivered ammunition to Vietnam in the Merchant Marines, but that was my era. The Vietnam War was in '69 was at its peak. So I kind of most of it was for every POW, but really more so on the Vietnam veterans. So I had strong feelings for them and what they went through and the neglect that they got when they got out, because it was an uncalled for war. It was a horrible war. But yeah, I like the POW way.
I can't imagine the stories and the relationships that build brought about. With the show and the places you got to go with that bike. I can imagine, especially from your era and doing what you did, that would be an extremely emotional one and very eye-opening one as well.
Sure.
And that was when men were men.
Yeah, you're not kidding. But every bike has a story,
Oh yeah, every bike, every car. And speaking of when men were men, I'm curious about this because I've enjoyed talking to you because you're cut from the same cloth as my old man. I think Phil would agree. So it's very cool chatting with you. But what's the best advice you've gotten in business, in life, that's stuck with you all these years?
That's a tough question.
And if you're just totally self-driven and there's never been any advice, then what advice would you give a guy that wants to be where you're at?
No, I think it all comes down to perseverance. That's what I think. You know what I mean? Because sure. It's easy to get through the hard stuff, but to persevere to get through the thicker stuff. That would be Listen, I'm all into being honest, and I think all those things are a trait of a good business person and a successful business for. I think you have to have values, ethics, and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, that's a lot of my advice would be, you know, just, it's easy in business to sway off and become a conniver. You know, some money does that to people, and I think that, and I think we've all done it at one time. But I think that, you know, the road to success, I think, is just being fair. You know, treating people good. I think all those things go a long way. I mean, they do in my life today. I think that for me, those are the important things, you know, treating people, whether they're handicapped or they're the smartest person in the world, you know, kind of treat them, you know, I treat all people, no matter what color, without what race, without, you know, what deformity, whatever, you know, I don't treat anybody any different than the person next.
That's solid advice. Yeah, my dad always called it staying power. You got to be able to stick with it, and that's exactly it. Perseverance, because it's not easy.
That's
the Rocky quote. That one to live by. It's not how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's business right there.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that, but that's true.
What's next for OCC? What are you guys working on building? Is TV in the future, or have you done that and no more?
No, it's funny. They just did a documentary on me, and they're talking about going into a series, which you know, I had a lot of difficulties with not being in control of whatever you did or said on TV, because they had complete control over the editing. So no matter what you did, if you were the best guy in the world, they know how to make you look like the worst guy in the world. And that's what they did. And you know, it affected my life. It affected my business, and they never cared, you know? So the thing that I'm doing now is I have a piece of what I'm doing. So I have control over the editing also. So for me, and you know, I'm allowed to be myself. I'm allowed to, you know what I'm saying? I never liked when you were in the middle of doing something and they stopped you, you know, or they made you go through the same door 10 times because they didn't like the way you went in and out. You know what I mean? And the situation that I'm in now with the filming it's not that way. So it's kind of like being in a small shop. It's more enjoyable, and it's a lot less stress. And as far as projects, you know, I have 3 bikes I'm building for a father, son, and an uncle in the same business. We do this dream bike thing where the person could win if he wins, he gets to build part of the bike and have a say in the bike that I'm building. It's going on the 3rd year that we're doing that, and it's a good deal. It works out good. They also a portion of the money goes to the ASPCA that my wife's president of, and I'm vice president because we're involved in that in New York. It's a non-kill shelter. And so part of that money, because it's nonprofit, goes to the shelter. And the first time they raised $286,000, and the second one did either the same or close to it. And we're doing a third now. So that happens like they do one a year. They're going to do 2 this year. And then I have a couple builds that I'm doing for, believe it or not, the Harley Davidson dealership. The owner is having me build these 2 crazy bikes. And then I'm talked to a guy today that is a SEAL, and a Navy SEAL, and they're doing a big event, and he wants me to build a bike for that particular event and then unveil it out of it. So I'll be doing that also. So I'm like, I haven't been this busy since I can't remember, you know. And
that's great.
So
man.
I have and the bikes that I'm building, like the two bikes I have on a lift now, are real choppers. It's a real chopper. That's what I enjoy. Building sissy bars and putting shovel head motors in there, and get that Springer kicked out there, and so that I love doing those kind of bikes. So being
I always enjoyed when the senior builds came up, because I dig your style. You could tell you know what's going on. You've got the old school look, the experience, and every time one of those came on, it's like, all right, this fucker's pretty cool.
The front end was always right. The wheel and tire package was right. The oil bag was right. And then the headlight. You could always tell that those things were and that's what made it.
Yeah, it's interesting because people ask me how do you ride that bike, the chopper that I have, and because it has a real long, and it's not for everybody. Not everybody can ride that bike. You don't see a lot of it, but the things that are most important about a bike is the seat, the handlebars, and the forward controls. That's
the three things you touch.
You need to be sitting in that bike where your legs are in the perfect position, your arms are in the perfect position, your back is tucked in, and you could. I ride that chopper more than I ride a farm. And I've taken it out in Montana and Colorado out that way and just rode in the mountains for a week at a time.
Wow.
So
that's badass.
Well, now we get to the point where we ask the standard questions that we ask every single guest. And I'm really excited about some of these. This is going to be good. What is the best? Now, you're a special guest, so it could be motorcycle movie or car movie. You pick. What's the best bike or car movie and why?
Easy Rider, that
would be my guess.
That's a shit movie. You know what I mean? Like you watch that thing 30 years later, and you're like, I like when that came out in the theater. That was like everybody was going to get on their bike and travel the world, and of course that lasted a little while. But that, and listen, today, I've built a Captain America bike. Those bikes were cool then, and they're cool now. I can't think of a lot of like real motorcycle shows or TV or movie bike shows. You?
Oh man, Easy Rider is a great. I've got an awesome memory of Easy Rider. It was the first time my parents left me home alone, and my dad gave me Easy Rider VHS and put it. He's telling me how badass this movie is, and I was just glued to it. As a kid, you're used to watching stuff from like the 70s, and I'm like, holy fuck, these guys are badass. And to this day, I'm still like wildly attracted to the Captain America bike. And at some point I'm going to have, I'll probably do it as like a bobber, but that bike is it was just so damn cool. So I'll never forget that. It must have been like 9, 10. I don't know.
we built one just recently, pretty much to its originality, the wheel pan head motor. It was pretty cool. They're a cool bike, I think that and the Billy Bob, they're both cool. They're both cool bikes. Always was and always will be.
How about Harley Davidson and the Marlboro?
I was going to go there.
I forgot about that.
You ever seen that one?
Who played that?
Mickey Rourke and Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke was Harley Davidson, and Don Johnson was the Marlboro Man. If you haven't seen it, man,
I've seen it.
Oh, you're great fucking movie.
They play the part well,
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke, especially back then, he was really the guy to do that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Mickey Rourke's that's everything he's ever been in from my standpoint. You're just like, oh man. And he doesn't, I don't know why I'm even saying this, but he acts like he's not an actor. Like it's every
give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you just see him in it and like, how did they get him to do that? Like, and it's, he's not really an actor. It's like they convince him just to be in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. He really is a crazy man. And I think that's what's attractive about him. He's crazy. But, when you think about And like he was kind of washed up there for a while, drunk and drug addict. He may still be. I don't know. But then he did The Wrestler.
Oh yeah.
That was a phenomenal movie.
That was an amazing movie.
That definitely brought him back to life.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
That to me, I think that was a tough movie to make.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to mark this day in history. We're talking with Paul Sr. about Mickey Rourke. I mean, where in the world?
It's about as
where
cool as it
where
gets.
did we get? I mean, how did we get here? Sorry. Next question. What is the trickiest build out of all the builds that you've done? It could be time frame. It could be, demands. It could be that. What's the trickiest build you've ever been a part of? What's the one that you talked about? Perseverance.
We did hearse, like a funeral for a funeral parlor. And we built like a real, like the slide out. I mean, it was identical. And it was considered the last ride. And the guy, I forget the guy's name. He was a cool guy. He owned his own funeral parlor, and he still uses it today. But that was the hardest. And that was like, I lost so much money on that. And it was one of those things that were just endless. When's it gonna? When am I gonna stop spending so much money? And when is this gonna end? Because even to figure out to tie that motorcycle into that big hearse. It was to get the steering right on that was like, we called people from around the world to figure how to get that geometry right. But, the guy will go down the road 60, 70 miles an hour carrying the body in there.
That's awesome. You know how I know that that's the worst, trickiest build? Because he answered before I even finished the question. Every other guest you've always asked, I got to think about this. He knew exactly what the trickiest one before I even finished.
Real pain in the ass.
That one must have been bad.
There's been some tough ones. But
what is in your pockets right now? This is the one I'm most excited about. Every guest we have them do a pocket dump, and we're getting to ask Paul Sr. what is in his pockets right now.
Do you literally mean what's in my pocket?
What's in your pockets? Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
I have pocket knife.
What pocket knife? We talk about knives all the time. What pocket knife are you carrying? Kershaw?
Yeah. You want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see Paul Sr.
Yeah, we're all packing.
Yeah,
everybody's got the pocket knife.
Yeah, I don't. If I don't have a knife on me,
you feel naked.
I use it. You use it all the time. But I have a bad problem because I always have nice knives. They made OCC knives. I still have them too. They're pretty nice knives, but I lose them in the airport. Like I forget to take them. I want to stab myself.
They frown upon those things at the security checkpoint.
That's my biggest fear is going into TSA and realize like, oh shit.
And I beg them. I'll beg them. Can you help me out?
Yeah, I thought the ultra famous got like a special card where you could just write, it's Paul Sr. from OCC. Yeah. I can just walk on.
That's where you got to lean on that celebrity there and be like, guys, come on.
You know who the fuck I am.
See these guns I'm carrying?
Every once in a while, you got to cash in on that.
Yeah. And I have marker. I carry a black marker.
Sharpie?
So I don't have to wait around for somebody to find a pen to sign them, whatever it is they want to sign. So I carry that. My wallet. And I have like a small thing that I carry aspirin and that kind of stuff with. And of course, I carry a comb and I carry my money in my back pocket.
I know it seems like a weird question. We ask every single guest. It's just something we do. We do pocket dumps later on in the show from what we're carrying today. It's a unique one. You'd be surprised at what is in people's pockets.
I bet there's some interesting things. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made during a build, and how did you get it fixed?
Damn.
Or we also accept we've never made a mistake.
But then we know you're full of shit.
Well, I made a lot of them. So it take me a while to get all of them out.
Hey, you don't have to. Not a big deal.
Well, I honestly can't think. I mean, probably every build that we did on TV, we had a problem with that didn't always get seen on TV. So I can tell you, I drove a bike off off the stage. I drove a bike off the stage once. I drove a bike off the ramp. Okay, there was a ramp. It was about 6 feet wide and probably 4 foot off the ground. And I had to drive up, and I fell off the ramp.
No way.
And another time, okay, they took a 2x12. I think it was 2x12, and the stage was probably every bit of 8 foot.
Oh,
and they put that board down, and they said, "That's the way you're getting up on the stage." I didn't know any better. I just like wide open, and I got up on that stage. And when I got to the top, there was a band up there, and I tried to stop, and the bike was going. I was knocking down all the speakers, the drums. Like I wiped everything out.
Making an entrance.
Oh, what's interesting is I made it up that thing, but I couldn't make it up. Often, but I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, Mr. Teutul, I'm gonna address you as Mr. Teutul. This has absolutely been amazing. Seriously, I never thought in my life. I'm sure I echo Phil and Jeremy.
Absolutely.
That we never thought we would be sitting here having this conversation, but even above that, I was always a fan. We were always fans. I've gained so much respect for you having this conversation. So much, honestly, I'll be completely honest. So much different than I thought you would be, and it's.
I think you know I can echo that. That is exactly my thought, man. My hat is off to you.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of respect for you. This has been so cool.
Cool to hear all the backstory and the realness and how you built everything. It's just
you've got 3 true fans, and if anybody ever talks shit about Paul Sr. when we're out in public, we got your back. Not like you need it, but
got anything to worry about.
Don't worry about it. But
we'll stand right behind you.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
No, I appreciate you guys. It was enjoyable talking.
Yeah, if you're ever in the Chicago area, which I know you. If you're in Florida, there's no reason you should be. But if you're ever up here in the Chicago area, come by. We'd love to talk to you, show you the shop, grab some lunch, dinner, something like that. And next time we're down in the Clearwater, St. Pete area or whatever, we want to come by and see your shop for sure.
No, you could have, I'll buy you dinner or lunch.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Seriously, this has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do it again sometime.
Sure. Yeah. Love to. All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Big thanks again to Paul Sr. Remember, you can keep up to date with the latest at Paul Teutul Sr. on Instagram, or see what's going on at OCC Roadhouse by visiting occroadhouse.com. But before we go, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, and one we do every episode, the Glove Box. The Glove Box is where we each do a pocket dump and tell you about any new cool gear, guns, EDC shit, whiskey, and stuff we're into. This In the Glove Box segment is brought to you by Bear Brakes. Bear Brakes.
Been using Bear for a long time. I think we made a big switch over to exclusively using Bear probably 6-7 years ago and never looked back.
Solid company. Unbelievable product. Probably, in my opinion, the #1 product in the aftermarket, really. I've enjoyed the ease of installation with all their stuff. Such a great product. I mean, you get rotors and hats that are one piece. Saves you all the
it's an hour
countless hours of torquing and safety wiring, and I honestly I love the product. It's something we put on every car. It's one of those products you never have to troubleshoot. On every car you build, you have a punch list of, kind of final troubleshooting things, just simple punch list items, and brakes are never one of them. So,
they're all made right there in Phoenix.
In Phoenix, Arizona. Every single part and piece.
I almost feel guilty doing like a promotion for Bear because we generally love them so much. Like they really do.
They're
really that great.
Look at every car we've built.
Yeah, they're just
that's a good tagline.
They're just one of those great partners. If you need something custom, I mean, we've done plenty of stuff that every high-end vehicle we've done, whether you see their name on them or not, they're more than willing to accommodate the colors, the designs, the millwork, anything that we need. And it's a simple product to bolt on, which is what I like the best. It takes all the complications out of it. For the home, like the garage builder, that's going to be your best friend.
Complete kit with everything you need in the box, rotors, hats, pre-assembled, makes the installation extremely easy, detailed instructions. The kit comes with everything you need, basically except the brake fluid to make your car stop.
They've got the name and the quality and the street cred, if you will, like no matter what it is. Like there's several other companies out there that do brakes, right? And there's some that are on the, oh, that's fucking awesome, you've got a big brake kit, and I built it myself at my house. And then you've got some other ones that out there, it's like, so it's Formula One brakes that you figured out a way to get on your car. But Bear is a company that fills all those voids. Whether it's an 11-inch kit that you're putting on, your resto mod at home, or it's the fucking next Street Machine of the year or Riddler winner that's Bear's provided you the parts with.
And they've got kits for everything. I mean, we use their 11-inch kits when we want to run a 15 or 16-inch wheel, and we've run their 16-inch massive 6 or 8 piston calipers when we're running a 24 on the new OBS truck and want something that's going to have all the bling and fill up that massive wheel. So they got you covered in every area.
I love being impressed on both ends of the spectrum that you can put one of their 11-inch 4-piston discs on a spec chassis and it will put you through the windshield when you want to stop. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, when you're doing some of our most high-end stuff and you have 14 to 16-inch massive brakes, you get the same performance. I've never been disappointed.
To learn more about Bear Brakes, go to bear.com. That is BAER.com. You can also call us at the Roadster Shop if you have any questions. If you listen enough, you already know what the glove box is. What do we have up on the glove box this week? Who wants to go first?
Are we doing the pocket dump first?
Yeah, pocket dump first.
I switched up the knife a little bit.
No.
About time.
Rare. I got the Microtech, well, Aces and Eights. OTF.
That's their Death Card series.
It is.
Is that a UTX 85? Is it?
Yep.
Yep, it does look like that.
Leave it to Josh.
That's the
he knows like the serial number.
Knife encyclopedia over here.
It is, well, it's all, those are all true things.
Good night. I got the same one. That was
so awesome gift from a good customer, Matt Saxton.
That's just a sweet knife.
It is pretty badass. Got another one that I feel is a little bit too nice to carry on a daily basis. It's a special occasion knife for me.
Don't ever say that about Microtechs. I disagree with that
because I carried the ever living shit out of that exact knife that Matt gave me. It never left my pocket for like 2 years, and I wore it out. I've got to send it back in because it finally killed the spring.
Oh, we need to get that back.
Yeah.
Don't ever say that Microtechs are too nice to carry. That is completely against everything they stand for. They want you to beat the shit out of them. However,
they stand behind them.
They also, the Marfiones does, that's their custom series. Do you know anybody
that has a Marfione?
I do not have one. Nobody has a Marfione.
Oh, you do?
No, I do not have one.
Jesse was carrying one.
The thing about the Marfiones is some of those are $6,000 and $7,000, but they also say they're not too nice to carry. If I spent that $7,000 on a knife, I probably would think it's too nice to carry.
Can you drive? If you spend $7,000 on a knife, I'd think we're paying you too much.
And I'm actually. Well, you got what else are you rocking?
That's it. Everything else is kind of my standard carry. Bear pen, iPhone, wallet.
I can't believe all that fits in that fanny pack too, because the fanny pack looks a little small.
Yeah, well, it unrolls, and
the Bayer pen is a huge crowd pleaser. I hear more, and I've got one.
I know,
and it's all the hype. It lives up to it. Yep. I got to hear about like everybody.
Who's the actual guy that makes them? I forgot his name.
Karas Pen Company. Okay,
you can't let that go. Oh, we're gonna make those RS knives or RS pens.
Okay, so
I don't want to give him credit. I don't want to get all Bear the credit for.
Yeah, Bear didn't make the knife.
Yeah, but they gave it to us.
Yeah,
Rick gave it to us.
That's the bolt.
They didn't give it.
That's the bolt pen.
Yeah, great pen.
What do you have in your
similar?
Pockets?
Coincidentally, mixed it up today. Went back to an old classic, also a Microtech. And I'm going to lean on Josh to tell me what model this is.
Also a UTX 85.
Smaller.
That's their mid-size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mid-size serrated blade. I like the serrated blade.
You do.
I like the serrated blade for a daily carry. If you're using it, you got to cut some rope. You know,
how much rope do you cut on a daily basis?
A fair amount.
You haven't cut rope this week.
Not this week. I cut a couple weeks ago. I cut some rope. When I was building that. I'm driving that little Ford rental, little mid-size SUV, and I put about 2,000 pounds of decking in the back at Home Depot.
You had some twine. You had to cover up some twine.
Yeah, I'm carrying, and I bought some rope. That was a sight to see. Tied the hatch.
You looked
down
just like your standard homeowner.
Yeah, I felt great. I'm like, oh man, yeah, that was rough. But this was a daily carry for years. I retired it for a while. I feel like the majority of its use is cutting boxes and tape, so you can see it's loaded with just like tape residue. But
got to cut zip ties. Your kids are a little bit older now, but our kids are both in the 8 to 10-year-old range, and every toy has got 487 zip ties in there.
And that's where the serrations come into play, because you use like a dagger blade.
You're there for hours.
I mean, you cut yourself with a like 1.5 inch little folder. So imagine using like a dagger OTF and trying to cut a kid's.
We talked about this. You said you weren't going to bring it back up.
I'll
because he hates highlighting your failures.
From here on, I'll likely bring it up every single week.
We traded stuff.
I'll bring it up as often or lack thereof as the scooter accident, which I don't know. We talked about that. I think, was it the last episode where?
Yeah, it was the fucking last episode. We spent 20 minutes on it. It hasn't even aired yet, I don't think.
I feel like I want to retell the story. Because
you can't retell the story. You can't tell the story twice.
I think there's 20 more minutes. I know it happened in a split second, but I think I could.
You had your shot.
All right. I hope I did it justice.
All right, well, you talked about your Microtech.
Yeah, okay, so I got the Microtech. Other than that, it's the usual, the money clip, the dad wallet that keeps its an ever-growing little wallet there. That I think, didn't you say we got something coming to?
We're supposed to have some Ridge wallets coming to try out. We'll see. See if they show up. We'll see if they live up to the hype or if it's all just marketing. We'll see if it actually solves a problem. This week for me, what do I got? I
heard that snap. Good clip coming out of the pocket.
Good clip. This has been in my pocket for a few days, but I'll have to be honest that I borrowed or repurposed this from my son. This is one of my son's knives, and I've been eyeing it for a while, and I wanted to try it. So this is a Civivi. You had a Wii knife the other day. Civivi is actually this a sister company with Wii knives.
Is it actually how it's pronounced?
Civivi, yeah. Civivi. Civivi Aquila. This is the Civivi Aquila.
That's a mouthful.
Yep. What you want to hear? You want to hear something?
Yeah, let it snap. It's got some.
It's got a good tactile. Not very loud.
I like a flipper.
Yeah,
I can fuck with a flipper.
This is cool because it's got some of my favorite things. I'm a sucker for FDE. This is a FDE tan G10 with gold liners.
Like you some gold.
I do like me some gold. I like me some gold and tan. This is a liner lock flipper, a little over 8 inches, 3.5 inch blade. So this would be your full size EDC carry. I personally wouldn't go to anything much bigger than this, but really, really slick blade. It's got great action. It's on ceramic ball bearings, but Civivi and Wii knives also great quality. They got a lot of U.S. designers small guys that they come up with that do some of their designs. But for the price point, I think this knife is under $100. If you see a Civivi or a Wii, give it a shot. I want you to play with that. Go ahead and give it a flip.
Let me give that a flip. I like it. Nice.
Nothing absolutely wild, earth-shattering. Just a good, solid, nice size. Yeah, got a little flash to it.
To be completely honest, really nothing at all. That's completely like. It's a good flipper, though.
It's a good flipper.
What else you got?
Titanium pocket clip on it, actually. Oh, same wallet. pack of cigarettes. Got a special little lighter that one of my good friends gave me. It's got a spark plug on it. He said he thought about me.
Before we talk about that, what kind of cigarettes are there?
Same cigarettes I've been smoking since I started smoking cigarettes.
What cigarettes did you start smoking?
That'd be Newport 100s because I like the long ones.
Menthols.
Yeah, Newport's only.
Are they only
menthols. Yeah, they did a little short run of those reds for a while, but I don't think they took off.
Newports because you like the long ones.
Newport 100s. Don't tell me I'm not a quitter. I've been smoking since I started. Way back there.
You can tell because how it is.
Yeah. That does it for what's in our pockets. But what are we drinking today?
I'll let Jer pull the intro on this one. This is his pick.
Well, actually, we were on that little Bourbon Trail tour and stopped off at a cool liquor store, Justin's House of Bourbon in
awesome place.
Louisville, Kentucky. Always wanted to go there because they advertise a lot of little dusties, some cool vintage liquor bottles. And once you see the prices of those cool vintage liquor bottles, you realize that you're not buying those cool vintage liquor bottles. So
but if you're on the hunt for something, they got it.
Yeah, if you're looking for anything like any of the rare stuff that you're not going to find at your run-of-the-mill liquor store, it's on the shelf there. And most of it's fairly priced, I'd say, unless you're like trying to get into your Pappies or your like real super rarities. But Josh pulled this one off the shelf and showed it to me, and it was attractive. It's called Kentucky Par. I've never heard of it, and it's just got that classic vintage look. So
I did a little research before we got on here.
Did you?
Unfortunately for the listeners, this is sold in two places only. That would be Kentucky and Florida.
Is that right?
Only places in the United States is Kentucky and Florida. However, you can have your local liquor store order it for you if they can get it.
Damn.
Kentucky Par is an old brand. Way back in the day, they brought back.
1933. And the two things that this has going for it right out of the gate, beautiful bottle, killer logo, classic look, but it's a 12-year. And I think that 12
Sweet
years
spot.
are always the sweet spot. Anything that's on the shelf that's a 12-year,
pour me a little.
I'll always hear you
I was
go.
going to ask the same thing.
Dancing the bottle around.
Honestly, the bottle and label is, well, the label on the bottle is the greatest thing.
The bottle sells it. It literally looks like you should knock the dust off of it because it's been sitting on the shelf since the 30s. But I would encourage anybody, if you see something that's a 12-year, I'm yet to really find something bad that's from that, that's aged at 12 years. It's a light, I don't know, light proof, but it's 100 proof, no burn going down. You get a little mouth burn coming in, but it's not like
no chest burn.
But you don't get that chest burn.
But the flavor's great. We did not know what to expect. We opened this up for today's recording and had no idea what to expect. And I'm going to tell you what, that I'm disappointed because we got a bottle
and we're 3/4 of the way through the bottle,
and we can't get another bottle.
Oh, we can't because somebody got one for their home collection.
Oh, that does us no good.
That's this guy over here.
That does us.
What it says? Yeah, I bought one for home because the bottle was just so sexy looking.
Or think about it this way: we bought two for the studio.
Another way of looking at it,
and 0 for you.
Okay, well, at any rate, it says right on the bottle, "Made right, tastes right."
Kentucky Par.
Yeah,
check it out.
Fantastic stuff.
What's our review for this week? 1 to 10. Everybody knows the rules. Kentucky Par.
I'm putting this one up there.
I'm giving it.
I gotta just refresh myself to see where we've been and where we're going.
7.6. It's a review.
Man, I think you're
That's
light.
low.
I think you're way light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going
All right,
8-0. I'm going 8-0.
Here's what,
or 8-1.
Just to give you guys a little background. You guys gave the Elijah Craig 18 an 8.3. I came in at a 7.9. And I personally, I believe this, I like this better than the 18 Elijah Craig. I'm going 8.1. It's that good.
You said 8-0 or 8-1. I agree with you. I find this more palatable or enjoyable.
And I don't know if I'm being like,
I agree to disagree.
I don't know if I'm being smoke showed by the bottle.
It tastes fucking good. It really does.
Not arguing that.
Yeah, that's
everybody. But that's the beauty about all this, because ratings doesn't mean anything. It's about what you personally taste. Some people like things different than the others. And
I'm going to rate it. At the end of the day, they come down to buy it or don't buy it. This one's absolutely buy it.
This one's buy it. And this one's
buy one for reserves.
This one's seek it out. Try to get it.
The problem with this one,
new rating system we could maybe come up with here.
Yeah.
Buy it or don't buy it.
Buy it, don't buy it, seek it out, pay over retail for it.
Yeah.
This one, unfortunately, you got to pay for this one. You know, it's
you gave what, 7.9?
Yeah.
Phil? All right.
I think
right.
7.6.
7.6.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's light. You might just want to put it in a 7.9.
You round it up if you want.
Jeremy's an 8.1.
Yeah, I'm an 8.1.
I echo that as well. I'm an 8.1. That is saying something.
Do we want to hit the
it.
price points on these, or?
Yeah.
Yes, this one you're going to pay for this one a little bit. You know, it's $149, so it's up there. You know, I think, you know, some of your 12 years you're going to be typically a 12-year you're right around $100 unless it's something real good. So you're paying a little more than your average stuff you're going to find on the shelf. But
that could have been just Justin's too. We don't know what it's like on normal shelves.
Yeah, you
never
Google
know.
that.
No, you know what? We can Google it right now.
We'll say one thing I wanted to bring up from the Louisville trip that I learned. I don't know if you guys were a part of this. Trying to smell the whiskey at the Buffalo Trace tasting. They said, make sure you open your mouth while smelling it. Because I used to always just smell pure alcohol and I always have my mouth closed. You open your mouth for whatever
ethanol alcohol goes out.
Magic. Yeah. And you can smell the flavor a whole lot better.
They say to do that on your high proof. If you're drinking something that's a high proof, once you take that sip once you swallow, go ahead and blow out. And that gets all that alcohol out and you don't get near the burn as well. That's what they say. Looking it up on Drizzly, you are 147. On a couple of other sites, it goes down to 129. So the 130 to 150 is probably what you're going to end up paying for the Kentucky Par.
So seek it out, buy two, so you don't feel guilty drinking the one.
It's a good one. It really is a good one. So we're over with the glove box and
on the gas. Who's on the throttle? Can we change it to? I like on the throttle.
That's like motorcycle related. There's no.
Well, you can still call it a throttle cable on a car.
Yeah, but it's a gas pedal.
All right, you're right.
It's not a throttle pedal.
Stick with it.
Maybe it's a throttle pedal.
On the gas. Who we got this week, Josh?
It's in this segment. Well, first of all, we got to explain to everybody what on the gas is. We might have new listeners.
This is true.
You never know. In this segment, we take some time to give a shout out to an individual vendor, shop, or company that's got their pedal to the metal or on the gas or throttle pinned on the throttle. Somebody that's on the throttle doing great work and taking their projects and industry to the next level. Up this week, we're
going to go with J-Rod and Custom.
That's somebody that is definitely on the gas.
That they are. I think I was pretty blown away at SEMA last year seeing that Suburban. That is absolute badass truck.
The fit and finish on that thing is next level.
For like 30 feet of car or truck, that was insane.
You've got some square footage there.
Oh, they blocked that like they do, like those old two-person saws. That, you know, it was a two-handed block down that thing.
No, that was a wildly impressive truck. Love the details. Love everything about it. The color selections, the interior
was awesome. I was blown away by that. Just the detail on the motor, all the sheet metal work under the hood, finishing everything out, nothing overdone.
We don't get to see them at shows a lot because they're all the way up there in Washington, the Pacific Northwest. We got to see them at SEMA there. That thing was
badass truck.
Yeah.
I would love to own that one.
It's checking all the boxes for a PGS. That's for sure. For Phil Gerber special.
Absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful truck. Tons of, it just looked like there was a ton of engineering. There's machine parts and hand fab parts. And that thing just, kind of in a league of its own for that.
They just did a full
generation
drive
of
too, didn't they?
They did a Wagoneer for Nick Griot from
Griot's
Garage. And cool truck. Yeah, I get there's some background on that. He's had that truck, driven that truck.
I don't know a lot of the story on it. I just know
we lean on you for the details.
I apologize. He has a lot of vehicles and he's got obviously great taste.
Right. At any rate, I know they chassis swapped it. It's LS powered RS4 chassis. And I think it hit like its maiden voyage was just getting on the road and road tripping.
Do you see that?
Family road
some of the
tripping.
Instagram pictures where it's just like driving through an absolute whiteout.
Dude, it's the best thing you can do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, I dig everything those guys are doing. I've followed, they got a second gen Camaro that looks like it's been going on for a while. It pops up, in my feed from time to time. Killer flares, all hand fabricated metal flares on the car. That's, I don't know where they're at with it. I don't know, much about it other than the pictures that pop up, and the thing's sick. I mean, nothing's better looking than a second gen Camaro with ripper flares on it, and looking forward to seeing that one done. And that's a shop worth following. These guys do some really trick shit.
The first time we saw him with SEMA had to be 5-6 years ago with that little 66, 67 Nova.
Yeah, that Nova was cool.
Thing like kind of came out of nowhere. Again, we're not on the Northwest all that much, so didn't know about him and saw that parked on the ramp spot at SEMA.
That level of fit and finish on that one too.
Yeah, it was like, fuck, this thing's badass.
They bring it for sure.
Yeah, looks like total package. Sheet metal guys got the shaping skills, the tubing skills, detail skills,
overall style and design.
Yeah, they got it going on.
Check them out at JRod Custom on Instagram or jrodandcustom.com on the Google Internet machine if you want to go to their website or things such as that. Big thanks again to our guest, Paul Teutul Sr. Seriously, huge
thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. What a killer night, man. That was a hell of an interview, man. Loved chatting with him. Honestly, that was just too cool.
Never would have thought, one, that I personally would be here, like us having this conversation with him. And number two, ending the conversation like, man, I wish we could have talked to him longer. Like that's a guy you just want to hang out with.
Absolutely.
Cool, real dude that probably got a little bit of a bad rap from the TV side, but the cool stories, cool vision on everything, and
come away with a completely different point of view. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's awesome. Remember, you can keep up to date with the latest at Paul Teutul Sr. on Instagram, or see what's going on at OCC Roadhouse by visiting OCCRoadhouse.com. Thanks again for everybody listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating and review. We're getting some good reviews. I don't know about ratings. I don't know what the rating part of it is. I know we're getting reviews. So if anybody's listening that knows how to do the rating thing, do like a good rating. Do you know how the rating works?
I don't even know how the podcast thing works, honestly.
This is all live.
Is it really?
Yeah, it just goes out.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like
you're not going to edit that one part?
We're basically on the radio.
Put it out on the line.
On the line. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. Thanks again to Paul Teutul Sr. We'll see you again next week.